And that's true. Most of these folks that I know that are alcoholics or drug addicts drown out the pain. So we don't live freely. We got all these rules, but these rules that only exist for some people and not for others. You know, if you rape somebody who's on drugs, it's still illegal. Just because they're on drugs doesn't make it okay. Now, there's been a lot of people throughout this that were alcoholics or on drugs that, well, they did a shitty job. They did a shitty job because they were on drugs or alcohol. But their heart was in the right place. It was in their chest where it belongs. They had good intentions. A lot of these folks, you know, like one of the campsites I went to, 2 o'clock in the morning, I rolled in there about 1 o'clock, 1:30. I was tired. I just wanted to go to sleep. And no sooner than I was almost asleep than some tweakers showed up at the campsite next to me and just wouldn't shut up. They were pleasant enough, well, until they got into an argument over how late it was and how loud they were being, and the guy who was being the loudest was the one yelling at everybody that they were being too loud. Funny how it works out that way, right? It started off with that one guy just being way, way, way too loud, and it got to the point where I said something. And when I said something, his friends were telling me, yeah, dude, probably a good idea to quiet down. It's like almost 3 o'clock in the morning now. And, you know, he didn't have any bad intentions. But come around 4 o'clock in the morning, they're still arguing over him being too loud. Every little sound that is made, this guy's yelling about how loud and how rude everybody's being. Every little crack and every little step on a twig and every little rock that's accidentally scuffed because somebody dragged their feet instead of lifting it up completely, and this guy is yelling at him. Good intentions. It's not the drugs themselves, it's the behaviors of those drugs and also the dependency on those drugs. When you've got somebody who is depending on you to keep your word, when they've invested all of their resources hoping that you're going to keep your word, and you turn out to be a drug addict, I mean, that hurts bad. But it don't make you a bad person. Your intentions were still good. A lot of these folks, they read to me scripture, or they tell me about scripture. A lot of drug addicts do that. So I get to hear them telling me about the different drugs that they're on and how they're getting clean while they're obviously still fucked up. But none of that stops me from trying to help them out when they need it. None of that, none of their drug addictions stop them from wanting to do the right thing. It just stops them from actually following through. Kind of like when somebody's got a control issue, or they think you're retarded and they know better than you, no matter what. And sure, they might even tell you they love you, but they're not listening to a word you're saying. You can say the same thing 50 times, they're not going to fucking hear you. They got suggestions they want to make, and they want their suggestions to be the fix-all for every one of your fucking problems, even if it's completely unrelated. Like when you try to get a stop put to the abuse that you're enduring, and people want to tell you to love yourself. If you didn't love yourself, you wouldn't be trying to get help, now would you? Of course you wouldn't. Alright, well, let's see if we can end this video. I met a guy tonight, well, 3 fellers, all of them drug addicts. One of them's actually from Hood River originally. And that's because they pulled up next to my vehicle, being really loud. And then they lit off a firework, and I tell you, that'd light a fire under your ass to get the hell out of there. Anyway, it's good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.